My father has recently turned 70 years old, and this had me thinking about the last time I went to a nursing home. And I had the privilege of speaking to the residents there. And I did a sermonette where I spoke on It's Never Too Old. And I just wanted to share a few thoughts with you today. There was a man where he was a salesman and he sold multi-mixers. And there was a small restaurant in San Bernardino, California, that purchased a number of these mixers. The salesman was very curious about this. He went to visit the small business and he was astounded by the effectiveness in which the owners ran that business. The menu was very limited. All it had was an option of burgers, fries, milkshakes, and soft drinks. But having this limited menu allowed the restaurants to very quickly service their customers. And because there was not a wide variety of meals, it allowed the workers to also concentrate on the quality of the food that they served as well. The man who visited this restaurant was very impressed by how effective this business was ran, and this led him to implement his own business idea. He offered his services to the small business and he developed it into a franchise. This man was Ray Kroc, and this idea became known as the McDonald's restaurant, which just about the entire world is familiar with today. Ray Kroc was 52 years old when he came up with this idea. There was another man where he bought a gas station in Kentucky and he transformed it into a restaurant where he would serve Southern classic style dishes. Then the state implemented a highway system there and it basically destroyed his business. What this man decided to do was to develop a franchise. What he wanted to do was he would visit door to door, he would visit restaurant to restaurant, and he would have his own pressure cooker with him. And he would offer to the restaurant owner a deal where he would make his own chicken using his own recipe. And if the customers liked it, he would get 4 or 5 cents for every piece of chicken that was sold. And we now know this franchise as Kentucky Fried Chicken. It was Colonel Sanders that implemented this idea, and he was 64 years old at the time. When you look into the Bible and you look at the story of Exodus and Moses delivering the people out of bondage from the Egyptian slave owners, did you realize that Moses, he was 40 years old when he left Egypt as a prince. He lived in Midian for another 40 years old. And by the time he went back to lead the Israelite people out of Egypt, he was 80 years old and his brother Aaron was 83 years old. So it took him 40 years of molding in order for him to be prepared to have that role of being the deliverer of the Israelite people. And we read about that in Exodus chapter 7, verse 7, that he was already 80 years old, 80 years old, by the time he was taking part in that leadership role. When you go to the book of Joshua, chapter 14, verse 10, we read about Caleb, one of only two men who were a part of the original Israelites who were able to wander in the wilderness and then make it to the promised land. Caleb was 85 years old, and he made a statement that his strength was as strong today as it was 45 years ago when he first left the land of Egypt. And Caleb, who was the leader of his army, was ready to go to battle against the people of the Anakims in order to conquer the land. So we see that both in the Bible as well as in our current day, that you can never ever be too old. If you ever feel as if you have reached a point in life where you cannot accomplish any more deeds because your age is up there, think again. You are never ever too old to accomplish something great.